Okay, creators, you know what it is. It's time for Davinci Resolve 20 over 40 in 30, day 7. That's right, day 7. You know what it is. We're going to dive into the edit page. To start things out, what we're going to do is just give a quick overview of the layout so you kind of know where things are. I'm going to try to do most of this from memory. You got to remember, I'm learning this just as much as you. So if I miss something, somebody let me know so we can make sure we cover it later. If I go too fast, let me know so we can backtrack and cover it again. And I will try my dangness to adjust this to you guys. Yeah, some of these things I've been editing for a long time. Some of these things I just know by feel. I don't even know what their right names are called sometimes, but I know what it does. So I just want to make sure I point that out. If I miss something or any confusion, by all means, jump in the comment section, let us know what it is so that we can get back in there and fix it. But let's just dive right in. So let's hit that, boom. Here we are in Davinci Resolve, and the edit page is down here on the bottom. So remember, there's media, cut, and edit. And I'm going to say edit page right there. Get out of the way, Doc. Not that Doc, the DLCK Doc. Okay, the first thing I think you should do when you jump in is go under workspace, and under workspace, come down to where it says reset UI layout. That will just rearrange everything so that it is what it is and you're good. I have no idea why that's media offline, but we're going to ignore that for now. One of the things that we're going to do is sort of walk around what you see. Now, this, different from the cut page, you now are going to get a double window. And that double window is going to put the source clip on the left and what's on the timeline on the right. Currently, our timeline is blank, so there's nothing there. If I were to, say, take this clip right here and, say, drop it to the timeline, now you see that there's a timeline there. But if I wanted to grab something from this clip and I double-clicked it, then that'll put this in the source area and this would remain over here in the timeline. So that this double view look is kind of old school editing. It's been around for a long time. And I know if you come from Final Cut or say iMovie or some of the other editing apps, you don't always get to see that. I kind of like both ways. Either way works for me. What you can do is in the upper left-hand corner, there is this one little lone box by itself. If you click that, you can put it into single view mode, which case you're going to see the timeline. So it kind of depends on how you're editing or what you're editing as to which one you will like the most, but it switches to a double icon when you're ready for double. So there's one thing to note. The other thing to note is if you have a clip selected down here and say you have the inspector open, it kind of moves things out the way. You have the metadata open, it kind of move things around. So that can mess with your sauce. All you got to do is just go and turn them off. These kind of turn white when they are selected. It's really subtle, but maybe if you don't see something, just check in the top up there and that'll give you a place to adjust it. Also, there are things hiding down in here. So if you need to show time code for any reason, or you want to have multiple timelines, which we'll get to in a second, these are things that you can do. And then there's no markers here, but it helps you jump to markers if you put markers in your kit. So I like this part right here. There's the timeline that we're working on is written in red. If you have a secondary timeline, that would be there. So you can switch those there. And this shows us the clips that we're working on. And the ones that we've opened so far are these two. So you can kind of toggle back and forth between clips that you have open, as long as I can remember what the names are. You also have the ability to hit video and audio only if that's the case. Now, before we go any further, let's check out some of these timeline options because you're going to style this out the way that you wish. And I did. Let me just double check to make sure I did it. I did hit reset layout. Okay, good. I want to make sure we did that first. So this first icon is for timeline view options. This second one here is for keyframe adjustments. And then this one here is for recording voiceovers. So let's start here. And if I like this box checked right here, this is display stacked timelines. And the reason why I do that is you can go and add a second timeline here if you wish, right? Let me delete that real quick and let me back out of it so we can see. If I was come here and create a brand new timeline, and we're going to call this DR demo, right? And go ahead and say go. I have the ability to switch between this timeline and this timeline. And, there are times where you're going to want to have two open. Say you're working on a series and, social media clips, right? Social media clips is a prime example. I tell my students to create what's known in radio as a donut. Okay. So let's just say, I use my friend's sides as an example. She goes, something quickly you didn't know about logic. That's not the exact words. Sorry, Breens, if I messed that up. But something you should know about in logic. That never needs to change because that's the opener. And then she'll go into 2 or 3 really quick logic clips. And at the end, she'll go, and that's something you didn't know in logic, follow for more. So the front and the back, that doesn't need to change. That's called the donut. So you could have that on a timeline, which is called Logic Tips Donuts. Ooh, I should steal that for Davinci. As a matter of fact, Daniel Batal, my homie, he has Davinci Resolve for noobs. And that part never needs to change. So you can have that on the timeline where all you're going to do is come into Davinci, duplicate that timeline, and then stick in the part that you're updating in the middle and then publish it. So that's the reason why you might want to have multiple timelines so you can kind of flip back and forth. That's just a small example, a little sample of how I could, sorry, I won't Cypress Hill you today. I don't think the algorithm wants to hear me sing that song. So let's pop back into the DR sizzle. And so that timeline options is cool. I love this idea of having multiple timelines. So you want to do display stack timelines. You want to do display subtitle tracks if you're going to put that in. And display audio waveforms, to me, I believe is somewhat importante. So let's come in and take a look at this right now. Hey, sorry. Right here, if I zoom into this, and we'll get into how you zoom in Davinci in a second, but there's not a lot of talking happening in that clip. But if I bust this clip onto the timeline, you can see there's my audio waveform, right? And then I can adjust the height of that, which I'll show you in just a split second. Please don't worry about that, but that's there. So having that audio waveforms there, that's one of the options. Actually, let me pull this down so we can maybe see what we're doing while we're doing it. Okay, so if I were to turn that off, then there's no audio waveforms. I don't know why you would turn it off, but I'm sure there's a reason. Otherwise, Davinci wouldn't have put it in there. So then you have your thumbnail view. You can do film strip. You can do thumbnail, or you can do none. I'll leave it on film strip. You can set your viewer background. I'm going to use gray, and I'll show you what that's for in a second. Is if you're here and say you were in your tools window and you like shrank this clip, right? So let's pull this one on the timeline. Let's put this indicator here. Let's go to the inspector, and do we have the zoom option, right? If we zoom out and we start exposing places where there's no clip, then that gray lets me know that that's a doodaddy, right? If I were to click here and the standard issue is black, maybe depending on the clip, you can't tell. And if you're really, really paranoid about making sure you don't accidentally show nothing, you can put it on alert red. I know a lot of people who like to work in transparency, like to use checkerboard. Honestly, I think the standard issue gray that it comes with is fine. So I'm going to reset this layout. That didn't change it. That was curious. Curious case of Benjamin Buttons there. I'll put it back on black for now, but I'm cool with that. But it has a lot to do with your ability to see what you're doing. So just know that that's a possibility, especially if you're working with something where you're sort of resizing clips and you want to make sure you don't make the clip too small that it doesn't show proper. Okay, here's the other one. You have the ability to have a fixed playhead, so the timeline will move under the playhead instead of you moving, similar to what the cut page does. And you also have something here called display full waveform. So let's click that. And you'll notice you're getting a big waveform, and the up is left channel, the down is right channel. So if we click on this again, you can say display waveform border. And I don't know what the heck that one does. Don't start me lying. I'm going to turn that back off. And then what the other thing you could do is you can adjust your heights. So if you need the video to be bigger so you can see what the heck you're doing, or if you need the audio to be bigger so you can see what the heck you're doing, there's that there. So you do have those ability. in the timeline options to go in there and get yourself situated. Now, in this particular area, I'll use the source clip 1. This little guy is a jog wheel. It kind of lets you hold the mouse and jog back and forth. If you click on it, you'll see the arrow changes. That lets you sort of move back and forth. I have a speed editor, so I can get down with that. And you have the ability to say whether you're jogging the source, the audio track, multi-clam, you can see that. So you also have, a little thing to rewind, say fast forward, like jump to any portion of clip. If you have a really long clip, you need something towards the end, jump to the end. Take the little joggy jog, slide back just a taste, right? That just messed up my zoom. Let me reset the zoom for you for a second. Okay. Of course, you have your play backwards. You have your play forward. And then you have the ability to loop a clip, which I don't know why you would loop here, but I'm sure there's somebody has a reason. Match frame we won't get into right now. And this does allow you to mark in and out from here, but just use the INO. It's so much faster. So in other words, if I wanted to use something out of this clip, like say I wanted to catch myself walking past, let's do a double in and out, right? Because we want to show time movement. So we're going to start here, hit I, and then we're going to slide this guy along, and then we're going to hit O, right? I could take this and drag it to this side. Notice what that does. This is different from the cut page. Yes, I could drag it down here, but it's moving things around, right? But if I come over here and just hit it with an insert, it moves everything over, right? We're going to ignore this audio track on this particular section for a minute. Actually, we'll come to that later. So now I can come down a little bit more. I want to basically skip some time. Let's start right about here. Hit an I, go a little wee bit more, hit an O. Ooh, you just totally messed it up. I hit the I again. Hit the I. Draggy. I'm going to hit the O, slide this over, hit the insert. So I'm just adding this sort of time movement into this particular clip. This is about right. Let's hit the I, take it to the end, just drag this over and hit insert. So now I just built like a little quick time passing timeline just by doing that. And it's cool that you can see what you're doing in the source viewer, and then you can see what you're doing on the timeline. So there's that. Moving over to the other side, you basically have the exact same options. Everything is still there, but this is where you would get your tools. So if you needed to transform this clip in any way, form, you're going to get transform handles that allows you to do that. You're going to get the ability to crop. You're going to get crop handles, which would allow you to do that. It's really hard to do this on this tiny little guy. There you go. This is where you might switch it to single for a second so you can sort of see what you're doing, cropping that image. And then switch it back to double, single, double. That's cool. You also have the dynamic zoom, which you can play with. You can open effects overlay, open fusions, write some notes. You can smart, reframe, and cinematic. We'll get to all of that at later times, but this is your tools palette right about here. So let's go to transform and turn that back off. Same with the jog idea here. You can kind of jog back and forth. All of the other play controls are the same. And then you have this little doohickey here, which is match the frame, which is saying if I have this clip here and I want to see where that clip is in the viewer because I need to re-edit or something, it will go pull that clip. In Final Cut, you would click here and you have to look for a thing that says find in the browser. I like this match frame doohickey here. It's really, really cool. Makes the job a heck of a lot easier. This one does the same thing. And again, there's in and out buttons there. So that covers that portion of the interface. While we're here, don't forget, at the top, you have the ability to set the duration of a clip. Let's zoom this in. This first one tells you how long this clip is, right? It is 4 minutes, 12 seconds, 7 frames. This tells you where you are in the clip as far as time code goes, right? So if I move the debugger along, you can see just sort of where you are in the time code. As we come over to the other side, sorry for the zoom scanning, it's just easier. This tells you where you are in the time code, and this will give you the overall duration. And again, you can set those in your project. And so notice that this 1002915 is where we are here on the timeline. So if I drag this back to 0, that puts that at 0, right? That's telling me my overall project right now is 4 minutes, 34 seconds and 16 frames, right? So that's what these numbers here at the top means. In small projects, you probably just jump around. In bigger projects, very helpful, especially when you're trying to figure out how much time you need. So in other words, if you're trying to put together a 60-second clip, you can see where you are in the timeline. So as you're cutting for time to get it to fit in that 60 seconds, well, nowadays it's 3 minutes, so it's a little easier. But this is where you're going to use those numbers and they will come in handy. Okay, so that's that part there. Let's move over. And since we're in this corner, let me show you that there is a mixer here that helps you make audio adjustments so you can sort of see what you're doing. And this is for the audio 1 track, which is this particular unselect. This particular track right here. I have them set to be linked. We'll cover that in a second. And then the bus means the output, like what's coming out, right? Think of it as a bus leaving you from the bus station to take you to New Jersey, right? So then metadata. In a small project, not that big a deal. In big projects, this is life. This is where you put things based on the clip in order to help you out. Are we zoomed all the way out? Okay, let's move this over so you can see. So here you will see the ability to add more and more metadata as we go. I think this guy is here. So you can do shot and scene names, put a description, add any comments, add any keywords, right? So I could be like doc, comma, talking, comma, head, right? Or maybe talking head is one word. Anyway, that's the idea of putting some keywords in there. And actually, let's delete this idiot's name right here and put it down here under people. Ooh, click, 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 D. It's not liking my typing. Come back. What are you doing? Clear, clear, clear. There we go. It's not letting me tag people. Oh, you know what? I think it does automatic people tagging, but we'll come back to that. But yeah, that's sort of where you would put these keywords in. There's lots of things that you can do. And this guy lets you see what you're adding, right? So if you need to do production crew or something like that, that's a little technical. But when you're working with bigger parties, that's where that works. I think the people one is automatically populated because Davinci Studio, I don't know if the free version does this, has a way for you to identify who people are people. So that way it will automatically find them in clips, which is good when you're editing your own stuff or you're doing a podcast with you and another person. If you have a way to, it to know who the people are, that part is cool. We're going to skip that for now. Anyway, so that's the metadata. And of course is the inspector where you can make changes, do some things, dynamic zooms, cropping, composites, adjust the zoom rate. Like if you're zooming in or zooming out, that's all in there. These little hooks put everything's back to 0 and that resets everything in case you borked something really, really bad. Okay. Let's see where else we want to do here. Okay. Coming down to the bottom, these is where things get important. I forgot how to clear in and out points, but we're not going to sweat that for now. All I really need to do is reset this guy. Maybe I don't want to have in and out points because that's going to make things look a little bit confusing. I guess not. Set in, set out, mark split, remove the selected markers. Nope. I just dragged this all the way to the end. Actually, what I could do, this might be really stupid, guys. Let me select all of this and cut it, and that didn't do anything either. All right. I do not know how to clear in and out points. That is on me. Let me see. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Mark, clear in and out. There you go. It is option X. Now we know if you need to clear an in and out point, if you go here, mark in, come here, mark out, you want to get rid of it. If you hit option X, it goes night-night. There we go. All right. That was stupid on my behalf. I am sorry. Let's get into some of these markers here. So this arrow tool is your select tool, right? This is where you're going to select something. This is trim edit mode. This is blade mode. And this is dynamic trim mode. I'll save that one for a different conversation because it's it's cool, but I don't know if I'm going to use it that much, but it is kind of cool. So the arrow mode just really allows you to select something. You can pick it up and sort of move it around, things of that nature. Remember, you can pick things up, put it on the top, right? Then you're going to end up with a gap clip in here in the middle. You can delete that, go back up, right? It doesn't have smart insert on the edit page. So if I need a space for that, I legit have to go here hit the Y button to select everything after, or right click on this and then, select everything after. Then I would have to go to this particular mode where I could pick this guy up and move it, I believe. Yeah, see, this is where the cut page comes in fun, bro. It makes it a lot easier. Yeah, I don't even know how to insert that back in right now. We'll come back to that. Let's undo that for now. But basically, the select mode allows you to select your clips and sort of move them around. So that's totally different behavior than this other mode here, which is the sort of trim mode, which is allowing me to slip in here, right? So now I'm moving the clip. And remember, while you're slipping in here, you can see it in the quad viewer at the top. So if I put this cursor here and I move this, you can see the upper left is the in point, the upper right is the out point. The bottom one is not moving because nothing is changing right there. And the reason why the other one is blank is because I have a gap. If I were to go up in the edit menu and delete the gaps, did that work? Do I gotta select all? Maybe I have to select all. Go up in the edit menu and delete the gaps. Now maybe when I hit the slip mode, it should show you forward. There you go. Because it's showing you the next point for the next clip, right? So that's what that particular situation does. Blade is simple as pie. You bring the cursor to where you want it, put your blade in position, and give it an old slicey slice. There is a smaller, thinner line that's moving right here. So if I want to get real accurate, I can hit the slicey slice, and then that's going to be my little blade guy, in which case I will have to turn that back off, come back to this, and then embiggen this a little bit, pick that up, and then delete it. So now you created a gap. And so this is why yesterday or the last week, I've been saying so much, you guys kind of want to be in the cut page, because in the cut page, I can just eliminate those things. And then when I go back to the edit page, it's fine, right? There's one other cool tool about this, which I don't know if it works in this particular page, but it makes the WAV file bigger. I think that's only on the cut page. See, I'm telling you, a lot of my master cutting is going to happen in the cut page because it is so much better for this sort of like fine tuning what you're doing. I don't see it have that ability here, but in the cut page, when you want to go make an edit that close to the timeline, let's embiggen this. You have the ability to, under the timeline indicators, you have the ability to do like a bigger audio waveform so you can see what the heck you're doing. Trim to audio. There you go. And so what happens here is when you start messing with this, the wave file gets bigger so you can see what the heck you're doing. See that? You can cut easy because the wave file gets massive. I wish they had that on this page too. You shouldn't have to switch back and forth, but not my problem right now. Anyway, let's get into track hiding. So again, you can use this button to zoom your timeline in and out. There's a little wheel here. There's minor joints with the plus and minus, right? But really cool, you can hit this. I don't know, they call it something weird. They call it like full extent timeline, full extent zoom. That means show everything. That's the equivalent of Shift Z in Final Cut. Does it work? Yeah, Final Cut works. Shift Z works. And then let's embiggen this. You have this guy right here, which is detail zoom, which is going to take you to maybe where your cursor is, right? It's going to zoom to that area. So if you were to move the cursor all the way down here and you need to see close, you just hit detail zoom. It moves and zooms in to your last zoom level, but at the place where you're at. And then you have this guy, which is, I guess, sort of a reset or a custom zoom. So you can kind of pick one and set your custom zoom there, I reckon. So like maybe that's all the way zoomed in and that's going to be our custom zoom. So we go back to here and we want to get back to the size where we came from. That's cool. I like that you can return to your zoom level by hitting custom zoom. That to me is actually a pretty dope feature. Bravo, Davinci Resolve. All right. I kind of wish the FCP had that as well. It does not. Okay. So the other things that we can do is you have this ability to turn on the magnet or not. So that links things together. And then like that leaves that. If I undo that and turn this off, and move that kind of works, right? If we grab this side right here, now it's moving together, right? But if you turn that on, then you grab here, you're going to pull a hole in it, right? So there's that. You have the link button. So these two clips are linked together, right? But if I unlink them, that would allow me to do like a J cut, like I could shrink the audio. But if they're linked together, I can't shrink the audio. Actually, you can. What? I can't. Oh, yeah, there you go. If I move the audio, now it's moved out of place, and you see that it's 19 frames out of place. But if it's locked together, then that should eliminate that from happening. Wait, you got to select those suckers and lock them together. There you go. Now they're staying together. The other thing that's really cool about this, put that back, is you have the ability to position lock. And so going back to the front where we were here, let's go to the regular zoom and just embiggen a little bit. Not that far. That was too huge. If I'm trying to pick this up and I don't want to accidentally move it while I'm doing some edits, I can take that clip and lock it. So that's a position lock, and now I can't move it, right? Position lock keeps you from moving things out of place. So if you got titles that are going with something and that title needs to stay in position, you can hit it with a position lock. So there's that. And then there is the markers. So you have a marker like this where you can just put in a little flag. Did I hit the marker? Hit the quad. Bingo. All right. And then you also have the ability to drop in a flag. So that drops a flag on the timeline. And why is my marker not working? He doesn't know. Anyway, that marker is supposed to allow you to put a marker, but this is also a flag to let you put in flags. And, we kind of use these things for chapters and things of that nature. I have no idea why my flags aren't working, but that's what it's for. I'll figure that out. We'll come back to you on that. And let's see, what else do we want to cover? Oh, yeah, one other thing that would be really helpful for you depending on your system. When you go up in here onto the workspace, you do have the ability to do a dual screen, which you can put things on two different places, and you can pick which display you want Davinci to respect when you open it. I have it set to open on this particular LG because the other LG is weird. The Elgato teleprompter is small. So far, it's been working. I know apps that tend to have this can wig out sometimes, but for the most part, that puts it there. And the other one is video clean feed, which means I can take my additional monitor here and turn this on. And you won't be able to see this, but it gives me the view of this with nothing else on it, so I can see what I'm doing while I'm editing. So as I'm jogging this picture is showing up on my 32-inch monster monitor to the side of me as if it was like a TV. So that could be very helpful when you're trying to line things up, so forth, so on, and etc. Okay, that was exhausting. I'm sorry, guys. I'm learning this just as much as you. I will figure out why that marker thing won't work, and we'll come back to that tomorrow. But again, the goal here is to learn this up to speed as fast as I can so I can get you started and get you started editing. I can see some of the fine-tuned things that are in the edit page, and we'll dive deeper in that tomorrow. I wanted to give you a basic layout of where things is because as we're moving quickly and talking about press this, press that, I want you to just sort of know where those buttons are. Again, I'll figure out the flag thing. The marker thing works. I don't even know what I would use flags for. I do markers all the time because that's what I know. But, I'm sure it has something to do with team edits and situations that most of us aren't going to bother with. Anyway, I don't know who needed to hear this, but let me know down in the comments if this is working for you. Again, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, speed up, slow down, tips, things I should cover in detail, let me know so we can make sure we get there. And right about now, the algorithm is going to show you another video they think you should watch, and I agree with them.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet.